Southeastern Vietnam, June 1968. 3 weeks of relentless rain had turned Route 13 into a black ribbon of thick mud. The convoy was crawling through the jungle when the lead M113 suddenly blew up a flare of fire, painting the canopy red. Another blast rang out immediately after. The second vehicle stalled, then became a molten mass of steel. 50 caliber rounds from the right-hand tree line hammered the vehicle roofs like a storm of metal. Men jumped out of the compartments and ran into the flooded rice paddies, their screams mingling with the sound of tracks shattering. In less than a minute, the convoy was pinned dead on the narrow track through Bin Long Forest. That month, Route 13 lost another 34% of its vehicles. Engineer Lieutenant James Carter, who had just seen the 5th M113 burn that week, wrote a report to Armored Command at Long Bin. M113s are not fighting vehicles. They are only mobile targets. Colonel Robert Vance read the report in the makeshift command tent as 82mm shells screamed over the corrugated roof like a knife on metal. He put his pen down and asked in an even voice, "Tell me, Captain, how do you make a troop carrier fight like a tank?" The radio crackled with word of another ambush 10 kilometers away. The problem remained. Outside the maintenance tent, Mallory watched a burned-out M113 being towed back. In the twisted aluminum frame, he spotted Corporal Danny O'Connell's family photo singed at one corner. He pried it from the dashboard and brushed away the thin layer of ash. Everyone was silent. They all knew Danny had died on that vehicle. Mallory shoved the photo into his shirt pocket, lit a Camel, and said softly, almost to himself, "If this vehicle can't make it, then they won't either." Staff Sergeant James Mallory, nicknamed Red for the bright hair he carried under the Texas sun, stood in the scrapyard near the Lai K base. In front of him was nothing but an empty shell, the remains of an M113 that had once carried 6 men he hadn't been able to save. In the middle of the charred wiring, he found Danny O'Connell's family photo, its edges scorched but the smiling faces still visible. Mallory wiped the ash from the picture. He gripped a bent piece of armor in his hand, breathed in the smell of engine oil, and said quietly, "Losing a fight is one thing, but I'm not letting them die because of this vehicle." He grew up in Lubbock, Texas, among cotton fields and old tractors. As a kid, he followed his father around, fixing John Deere engines, memorizing every bolt. He could recognize the whine of a motor under strain. When he joined the Army, he figured war would just be more repair work. But out here, one mistake could cost a life. B-40 rounds punched through aluminum armor like nothing. 2-layer punji pits sliced tracks clean off. Concrete bunkers under the canopy shrugged off. 50 caliber fire. The problem was baked into the design of the vehicle carrying them. One afternoon, Mallory sat on top of a wrecked M113 smoking his last Camel. In front of him lay a pile of M41 turrets stripped from damaged tanks. The 76mm gun sat there nearly 2 tons still intact. He stayed awake for 3 straight nights. One thought kept looping in his head: make it fight. Mallory wasn't looking for revenge. His goal was to shift the balance, turn the convoy from targets into a force that could strike back. He started with observation. He took a pencil and split his notebook into 3 columns. Why it dies, why it survives, and what can fix it. In the first column, he wrote, B-40 penetrates 38mm armor. 2-layer pits sever tracks. Vehicle stops when hit. Second column, survives when covered or when it fires back. Third, increase firepower, reduce reaction time. At the bottom of the page, he wrote a single line, kill what shoots at you before it shoots. That was the start of the Beast Track, a comparison chart pulled straight from an oil-stained notebook. He began sketching the M113 frame, the M41 turret, a new hydraulic system, and added armor plates. Mallory's solution was brutally practical. Use scrap parts to achieve enough firepower to punch through 30 centimeters of concrete, no assembly line, no redesigning the whole hull. He drank black coffee and smoked to stay awake. Every night, the repair shop lights stayed on until the roosters crowed. When Captain Walker, the mechanized platoon commander, stopped by Mallory, only said one thing: "Give me 3 weeks of welding shop and 10 men. I'll turn the M113 into something Charlie will be scared of." The captain looked at him, then nodded. Mallory didn't say another word. He He just stood there staring at the pile of scrap metal and thinking about the next 3 weeks. Bay 3, repair shed. Lai key base, isho 200 hours. The welding torch flickered, blue metal clattered against metal. Mallory and Corporal Tommy Dunn, 19 years old, a solid welder, were hunched over the frame of M113 hull number 47B. The vehicle had been abandoned after last week's ambush. Right track severed, left armor punched full of holes. Now, it was becoming the foundation for Mallory's test build. Step 1 removed the old 50 turret. Dunn worked the crane, lifting the nearly 800-pound turret off the roof. The steel block hit the wet ground with a dull thud. Mallory didn't look, he just pointed at the empty space. Right here is the new home for the 106. The M40 106 Stimbeller recoilless rifle, a weapon meant for anti-armor teams, had been sitting under a layer of dust in the scrapyard. The barrel was worn out and listed for destruction, but the breech was still intact. Mallory hauled it out cleaned, it checked every mechanism. Its heat rounds could punch 400 millimeter of steel at 1,000 meters, the kind of fortification that a 50 could barely scratch. The main problem was weight. The M40 barrel alone weighed 219 kilograms, not counting the mount. The roof of an M113 could take roughly 200 kilograms. Mallory scribbled calculations on an oil-stained sheet turret ammo, and the hydraulic assembly would total about 150 kilograms. He crossed out numbers several times, then made the call to cut seating reducing capacity from 10 to 6. Staying alive matters more than carrying bodies, he said. Step 2, build the support rig. Dunn welded 2 I-beams pulled from a wrecked M48 tank, forming a U-shaped frame hugging the command compartment. Mallory measured every millimeter with a grease-stained tape. 5 degrees off, and the whole thing will be unstable when it fires. Even though the M40 was recoilless, the Torquay could twist the aluminum floor. Out in the yard, there was an M88 recovery vehicle. Mallory pulled 2 hydraulic outriggers off it, each rated for 15 tons. He cut them down and welded them upside down into the floor to act as stabilizers during firing. Step 3, venting and blast shielding. The M40's muzzle blast hit temperatures in the thousands, hot enough to torch anything behind it. Mallory grabbed the steel curtain panel from a 5-ton truck, bent it into a funnel to vent the blast upward. He added a secondary tube made from half of a cut fuel drum, crude but effective. When they tested the lift frame, the right side weld split because the angle was off. Dunn cursed. Mallory remeasured, replaced the brace, and welded again. This time, the frame held. Mallory measured, tested, then wrote down every number. After each weld, he tapped the metal and listened. A dull tone meant wrong. A sharp tone meant right. He used chalk to mark the spots with the strongest vibration after each dry fire blast, a kind of manual resonance test with no instruments. After 2 nights, the hull was covered in chalk marks. Mallory connected the dots into a simple stress map. "We don't have any fancy gear out here," he told Dunn. "If you want to fix it, you have to understand the sound of metal." As they were finishing the last section, 2nd Lieutenant Harold Pierce, Division Engineer, West Point graduate, appeared in the doorway. The torchlight shimmered off his glasses. "Sergeant Mallory, you are violating Regulation 12-4. The M113 hull is not designed to handle the recoil torque of a 106. One shot could tear the floor. This project is hereby terminated." Mallory kept his eyes on the sketch. He pointed outside at another M113, the one Danny had died in the week before. That aluminum floor already tore from a B-40. He stood, wiped his hands on his fatigues. "I'm doing this to keep my team alive." Pierce said nothing. Mallory turned back to Dunn. "Keep going. Point 7 first, then point 9. Don't let the weld cool." The welding torch screamed again, drowning out the rain outside. Final step, the sighting system. The M40 used an optical sight, but in the jungle, visibility was only about 50 meters. Mallory pulled a 30 cal sight off a wrecked Jeep, taped it onto the 106 barrel with GI tape and wire. "We don't need precision. We just need to hit the tree line that's shooting at us." He pulled the dry fire lever clack, and Dunn let out his first laugh of the night. By 0500, the vehicle had transformed, the 50 turret was gone, the 106mm barrel jutted forward, the hydraulic outriggers folded neatly along the sides. Mallory checked the welds, ran the system, and wrote in his notebook, "Frame load stable. Balance off by 2 degrees, still intact." then told Dunn note this live fire test within 48 hours. Pierce returned at sunrise, suspension order in hand. But Mallory already had the engine running. The Detroit 6V53T roared, tracks rolled, gun swung, stabilizers lowered solidly into the ground. Pierce simply wrote in his log, "Project denied," but completed. The test variant of M113 number 47B, armed with the 106mm gun, was ready for its first firing trial. Night of July the 17th, 1968, the training field behind Lai K. The air was thick with engine oil and wet grass. Mallory rolled the M113 out of the shed. The tracks chewed through the weeds like they were biting into thin metal. Dunn sat in the driver's seat, hands trembling slightly on the shifter. Mallory checked the first-round moonlight glinting off the 106mm barrel like it was shining off a blade. First shot. Boom! The round left the tube, the backblast erupting into a column of white fire. A man-high cloud of dirt lifted off the ground. The 106 recoiled a short distance, snapped back into place, clack sharp and cold. The whole hull shuddered as if someone had punched its ribs. A sheet of hot air tore open the night, scorching a strip of dew-soaked grass behind the vehicle. The edge of the tree line echoed with a hollow sound, like someone fanning a fire deep inside a cave. The hull was taking maximum stress. The stabilizers dug nearly 8 inches into the ground. The shot drifted 3 degrees to the right. The round gouged the dirt beside the target. Dunn yelled through the intercom. Frame still intact, Sir. Mallory didn't look up. He saw a hairline crack on the I-beam. Re-weld it. Add 2 millimeters. Second shot 30 minutes later. The vehicle was steadier. The stabilizers had sunk deep. Boom! The mock bunker collapsed completely. Dunn shouted direct hit. Mallory gave the slightest nod. Codename Beast Track. Word spread across the repair sheds. 3 days later, Beast Track received its first live combat tasking. July 20th, Route 13. First combat engagement, 1430. A 7-vehicle convoy was moving toward Lock when the first B-40 volley tore apart the lead vehicle, turning it into a fireball in the middle of the road. Beast Track was fourth in line. Dunn accelerated. Mallory ordered stop-drop the stabilizers. The vehicle lurched to a halt, stabilizers punching into the dirt. The gun swung 15 degrees left. Target tree line with muzzle smoke. Fire. Boom. The wood and bamboo fighting position at 80 meters blew apart as if it had been flipped from the inside. A 30-centimeter concrete slab split clean in half. The remaining ambushers broke and ran before they could even recover their comrades. The convoy kept moving. Not another vehicle was hit. Post-action report, Beast Track participated in escort mission 13s to 7. Destroyed 1 fortified position. Neutralized 6 to 8 hostile forces. Friendly casualties 0. Losses reduced 40% compared to the previous 3 weeks. The report was copied and posted on the regiment's bulletin board. Troops crowded around to see it, ran their hands over the gun, and asked Dunn how hard that thing actually kicks. Mallory simply wrote in his notebook, Beast Track 1, Charlie 0. Continue testing. After the third fire mission, Colonel Harris ordered a camera mounted to record every shot for technical documentation. Each engagement required full reporting, barrel deviation, stabilizer, sink depth, round consumption, engine compartment temperature, all sent to Long Bin every 72 hours. Mallory's idea was officially added to the regiment's weekly work schedule. Within 2 weeks from Lai K to Bien Hoa, mechanized units began removing their Spawny 50 turrets, pulling old M40s from scrap storage, and sketching their own stabilizer rigs. Beast Track became the first prototype of the entire M113 upgrade program. Field briefing room, Lai K base, 0900 hours. A wooden table covered with maps, beside it a cup of cold coffee and an ashtray overflowing with cigarette stubs. The air hung heavy with smoke. Second Lieutenant Harold Pierce, Division Engineer, stood beside a paper mock-up of Beast Track, red pen in hand, pointing at a highlighted weld. Sergeant Mallory,
"This configuration violates 3 technical clauses. Load exceeds 12%. Recoil control fails to meet standard, and you're missing a safety report,"
Pierce said, voice steady but sharp.
"My recommendation is immediate removal."
Mallory sat at the end of the table, fatigue smeared with grease, eyes sunken. He answered plainly,
Last week the convoy lost 2 vehicles. Beast Track kept 7 alive. If we tear it down, we'll lose more next week.
Pierce tapped the pen on the table.
Regulations are to be upheld.
Captain Walker, commander of the mechanized platoon, leaned back in his chair.
Beast Track fires, the bunker falls, and my men come home. That's what matters to me.
Pierce snapped back sharper this time.
And when the aluminum hull tears and the round detonates inside the compartment, who takes responsibility?
Then Mallory looked at him calm.
If it jams, there won't be a next time to worry about.
The room went still for several seconds. Pierce gathered his folder and said flatly,
I'll take this up the chain.
That afternoon, Colonel Harris's office. Soft yellow light spilled across stacks of paperwork. Pierce stood rigid in front of the desk, reading a 15-minute summary.
Numbers, load, ratios, risks, and regulatory violations.
Harris didn't interrupt, only tapped his pen lightly on the desk. Out in the hallway, Walker leaned against the wall, smoking. If he orders it scrapped, I'm keeping it in the shed anyway. He muttered. Mallory simply said,
3 months. That's all I need.
Harris called all 3 inside. He looked at each of them, then spoke slowly.
Pierce is right about the regulations. Walker is right about the results. And Mallory? You understand your men better than anyone here.
He closed the folder.
No mass approval. Limited trial authorization. 1 unit, Walker's platoon. Duration, 3 months. Every engagement must be recorded. Measure frame load, inspect the hull. If the hull cracks, stop. If casualties rise, Mallory faces court-martial. If the results are good, we continue the discussion.
Pierce opened his mouth to argue, but Harris raised a hand. Final decision. Walker nodded. Mallory wrote a single line in his notebook. 3 months. Word spread fast across the base. Mechanized troops whispered that Beast Track was staying. The other engineers just shook their heads. Wait until it blows. No one knew what would happen next. The tension remained. It had simply shifted from the meeting room to the battlefield. The 3-month trial officially began. In the Melaleuca forest, north of Anlos, night of August 22nd, 1968, Recon Scout Nguyen Van Tai, 26, lay flat on a high branch, binoculars wet with dew. On the red dirt road below, an American convoy rolled forward. The 4th vehicle stopped. 2 metal stabilizers dropped and drove deep into the ground. The long gun barrel lifted and flashed. A burst of flame shot out the blast, echoing through the forest. The bunker 90 meters away was blown apart, smoke and dirt spraying up into the canopy. Ty wrote, New M113, fires big gun, temporary name, fire-biting vehicle. 3 days later, a 106mm shell fragment was recovered by the engineer squad of Company 307. A warped steel chunk, cooled but still stamped with the M40 marking. Brother Two Flames blacksmith and weapons specialist turned the fragment under a kerosene lamp and said,
No recoil. Shaped charge. Easy to break concrete, but needs direct sight.
They met inside an A-frame bunker, the roof packed with earth. A map lay spread across an ammo crate. Brother Two Flames drew circles around the usual convoy routes.
This vehicle hits hard, but it slows down to fire,
he said.
The stabilizers need 5 seconds to set. We have 5 seconds to move.
The first tactic tried was a heat decoy. They gathered dry straw, soaked it in kerosene, and placed it in an open field 50 meters from the real bunker. When the convoy arrived, they lit the straw. Thick black smoke rose, blocking visibility. In the first trial, Beast Track stopped, swung its barrel toward the smoke, and fired. The 106mm round exploded in the empty field, but the real bunker a meter lower and covered with foliage remained intact. The ambush team responded with B-40 fire from the flank, hitting the second vehicle in the convoy. The second tactic was a half-sunken bunker. A 106mm heat round would punch through sandbags but detonate in the empty space between the 2 layers. The blast dispersed, reducing damage. In the test, Beast Track fired twice. The bunker only developed a small hole. The ambush team kept firing and took out the 50 gunner on the roof. The third tactic was shoot and run. Ambushes used to last 10 to 15 minutes to destroy the whole convoy. Now, the formation split into 3 groups. B-40 gunners opened fire, machine guns supported for 30 seconds, and everyone withdrew the moment they heard the stabilizers drop, not waiting for Beast Track to aim. Over the next 2 weeks, 3 convoys were ambushed. Beast Track destroyed 1 decoy bunker and 1 heat trap, but was still outmaneuvered by the fast withdraw teams. American casualties dropped, but didn't disappear. Inside the command bunker, Brother Two Flames wrote in the company logbook, "The Americans upgrade their vehicles, so we change how we fight. The vehicle is strong, but must stop to fire. We make soft ground, mud, smoke, water, so it cannot see us." The note spread by word of mouth through guerrilla units. From On Lock to Bin Long, engineer teams experimented 50-centimeter mud pits in front of bunkers, slow-burn wet straw, heat-masking camouflage nets. Young fighter Tran Vun Bay added yesterday firebiting vehicle shot into the smoke and missed. Our whole team laughed. Turns out the Americans can miss too. News of the firebiting vehicle traveled back to Saigon through enemy radio channels. Mallory heard it and wasn't surprised. He wrote, "They learn fast. Good. We'll learn faster." From that point on, the duel between 2 strategic minds never stopped. Bin Long, July 14, 1968, 13:42. Route 13 shimmered with heat asphalt melting into dark streaks. A 9-vehicle convoy rolled in line, 2 Beast Tracks in front, 5 M113s behind them, 2 supply trucks at the rear. Mallory commanded the lead vehicle, Dunn drove. The second Beast Track 30 meters back was handled by Corporal Cole. 2 kilometers in the trap detonated. Dry straw on the right went up black smoke rising like a solid wall. Mallory yelled over the radio,
"Heat decoy, don't fire."
but it was already too late. Cole fired. The 106mm round sliced through the air and exploded inside the smoke. Only burning straw remained. Damn it. We took the bait. Find the real bunker. A B-40 from the left tore apart the tail truck. Its fuel tank ignited, sending a sheet of fire sweeping down the line. A second RPG from the right targeted Beast Track 2. Cole swung the gun and dropped the stabilizers, but a third RPG smashed directly into the left stabilizer. The metal buckled with a sound like a bone snapping. The vehicle tilted nearly 15 degrees.
Cole screamed, "Stabilizer's gone, can't fire."
Mallory kept his voice flat.
"Hold formation, move forward 50 meters."
Dunn hit the throttle. Beast Track 1 pushed ahead tracks grinding over the burning straw. Then the real bunker appeared, a half-dug leaf-covered position 70 meters out. A flash of RPG fire blinked in the brush. Mallory pulled the trigger. Boom! The round tore free as if yanked by an invisible wire. The backblast blasted straight into the earth, kicking up a cone of dust that slammed the vehicle behind like a wave of heat. A swath of foliage vanished. The ground scorched into a dark ring. The bunker erupted. Sandbags and roofing burst apart. The ambush team's screams stopped instantly. As the smoke thinned, Beast Track 2 came into view, burning. An RPG had punched through its roof and detonated inside. Cole had been thrown from the vehicle lying motionless on the road. Dunn spoke quietly.
"Boss, do we go back for him?"
Mallory glanced at the mirror, eyes hollow, voice raw.
"No, the convoy has to live."
Beast Track 1 rolled on tracks, crushing Cole's body as it pushed through the burning wreckage without slowing. VC side, same moment. In a secondary pit, 200 meters away, Brother Two Flames watched through binoculars. Second vehicle's stabilizer is broken. Good, but the first one still fires. He ordered a withdrawal. Within 15 seconds, the entire ambush team vanished into the forest. Aftermath. The convoy halted more than a kilometer past the kill zone. Troops jumped out to put out fires. Beast Track 1 suffered only minor damage to its blast shield. Beast Track 2 was completely destroyed. Stabilizer sheared roof, pierced Cole, killed instantly. Mallory inspected the surviving vehicle welds, still held only a minor crack on the secondary frame. He wrote in his notebook, "They know the weak point stabilizers. Next time, fire while moving." Firing while moving, immediate tests. The first attempt jolted the entire frame hard to the right. Tracks bit deep into the soil to keep balance. The backblast swept the road, ripping a long strip of leaf litter like it had been dragged by fire. Dunn shouted.
With that kind of kick, hitting anything would be a miracle.
Mallory replied. Then we practice until it isn't. Intel on both sides. American side, reinforced stabilizers. Add angled armor. Beast track effective but vulnerable to stabilizer disablement. VC side enemy using 2 fire-biting vehicles. Strong but must stop to fire stabilizers easy to break. 1 destroyed. Keep using smoke mud fast withdrawal. Can be beaten. Mallory sat on top of Beast Track 1, silently watching Cole's wrecked vehicle being towed back, its stabilizer bent like a snapped iron bar. Dunn asked softly, "Did we lose?" Mallory didn't look at him. "No, we just understand a little more now." 5 kilometers away, inside an A-frame bunker, Brother Two Flames sharpened an RPG warhead. Tran Vun Bay asked, "Next time, can we take it down?" Two Flames smirked, "Depends. If it keeps stopping, it's easy. If it fires while moving, then it gets hard." That night, both sides walked away with new lessons. Like a base, late September 1968. The 3-month trial was over. Colonel Harris laid 2 thick reports on his desk, one from Lieutenant Pierce, one from Captain Walker. Mallory sat outside in the hallway, hands still stained with machine oil, not invited in. He only needed one answer, whether Beast Track would live on or not. During those 3 months, 11 convoys had been escorted by Beast Track. 9 out of 11 broke through bunkers or escaped ambushes. Casualties dropped 38% compared to other convoys, the equivalent of dozens of lives saved on a single route. But the costs were just as clear. Oyster course. Each vehicle required 1 200-bus maintenance hours. 3 weld joints had to be replaced every week. Boss, 106mm ammunition was burned at 4 times the planned rate. After 200 kilometers of rough terrain, the aluminum hull began developing longitudinal cracks. Official conclusion: short-term effectiveness acceptable but unsustainable long-term. Transfer the concept to ARVN. Discontinue new production. Viet Cong sat in the command bunker of Company 307. Brother Two Flames wrote his summary: 7 engagements with the fire-biting vehicle. 2 destroyed, 1 damaged. Their side lost 14 men and 3 RPG launchers. But the most important number was the last line on the chalkboard: 87% of Beast Track shots hit heat decoys or dummy bunkers. His conclusion was short: don't fight it head on. Use smoke and soil. No matter how strong it is, something always breaks. What the trial revealed. A small change in a weapons configuration could reduce casualties by nearly 40% on the same route. An idea born in a welding shed could climb straight onto a command briefing table. 2 weeks before the trial ended, the division opened a new section in its weekly notes: Temporary Tactical Observations, Beast Track. The first line read, Source Technical Proposal by Staff Sergeant James Mallory. For the first time, his name appeared in an official document. Mallory received orders to remove the 106mm gun from Beast Track 1. He worked alone in the dim repair shed. The barrel was lifted by crane and lowered to the ground with a heavy thud like the end of a steel life. Dunn stood at the doorway silent. Under the yellow light, Mallory wrote a few lines to Texas. The enemy is smart and learns fast. What we build, they will figure out. To survive, we must think faster than they do. Beast Track is done, but the idea isn't. He folded the letter, slipped it into an envelope, waiting for the next flight out. Brother Two Flames wrapped a broken stabilizer strut and sent it up the chain. The attached note read, "The Americans will build stronger stabilizers. We'll make deeper mud. In war, the side that stops learning is the side that dies first." Lubbock, Texas, April 1970. James Red Mallory stepped off a civilian flight. His hair was already streaked with gray, though he was only 32. He wore a light blue shirt and carried an old canvas bag. Inside were just a worn leather notebook and a single piece of metal, the broken stabilizer from Beast Track 2. His father was waiting at the gate. They hugged tightly. Back on the family farm, Mallory picked up a wrench again, fixing John Deere tractors just like before the war. But every time an engine growled, he still heard the echo of tracks grinding on Route 13. That same year in Detroit, the Pentagon approved funding for the IFV Infantry Fighting Vehicle program. One line in the internal paperwork read, "Troop carriers must have active firepower enough to destroy fortified positions at range and protect infantry on the battlefield." During one technical meeting, a mechanized warfare lieutenant colonel placed a sketch on the table, a 20mm automatic cannon mounted on an M113 hull. The idea had first been tested in a small welding shed in Vietnam back in 1968. As the IFV program took shape, engineers came to a realization: giving a troop carrier real firepower was no longer considered unrealistic. In early 1970s internal notes, the concept an APC must actively create safe distance through firepower was repeated often, an idea very close to the improvised experiments on the Vietnam battlefield. No one mentioned Mallory by name, but the fingerprints of that 1968 repair shed approach showed clearly in how the new problem was framed. To protect infantry, the vehicle itself had to be able to break the path open. Beast track production was limited. Only 4 units were ever built, all dismantled before Tet, 1969.